Good morning and good evening. Good morning in Iceland, in Akureyri, and good evening in Fiji, in Suva. My name is Aurélien Orange. With my colleague Anna Maria Urbanova, we'll have a match for the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament. This is day 3, but a second match and third match for the teams. So I give the floor to my colleague.
Thank you very much, and indeed, welcome everyone, and a good day to the two debate teams. So you have 12-hour difference between the two of you, so thank you very much. So I hope you have a good day ahead after the debate, and good rest for the other team as well at the end of the day. So welcoming the University of South Pacific from Suva, Fiji, that will be debating on their third match of the day 3. And University of Akureyri, who will be debating on their second match, still in day 3, but their round 1 debate will be taking place next week. So the teams have prepared for the topic, adoption of the digital identification schemes and implementation of digital IDs is the next step of ensuring national security. So the teams had 7 days to prepare for both sides of the argument, of course, and as tradition, we'll find out in a short while which positions will be defended by which team. Before that, it's time to learn a little bit more about the debaters today, starting with Ms. Prakash from University of South Pacific.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Shani Prakash, representing USP Fiji. And yes, best of luck for everybody and hope to have a great learning experience with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Joining us from University of Akureyri, Ms. THIULDT.
Yes, the same. I wish everyone good luck. And also I wanted to comment on something because in Iceland, we don't have surnames. We only have our father or mother's name with daughter or son. So if you're referring to me by my last name, you're actually referring to me as the daughter of my father. So that's why we use Hrafnhildur. But thank you so much. I look so much forward to this. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And that's a really good information to have. Thank you for sharing. From University of South Pacific, Mr. Permal.
Bola everyone, which is the traditional way of greeting. It's an honor being here debating and looking forward to learning to work through all of you in this wonderful debate. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. From University of Akureyri, Ms. Ashlock.
Hi, my name is Emma Ashlock. It's nice to meet everyone. I look forward to this debate. I'm originally from Anchorage, Alaska. I'm currently here at the University of Akureyri and studying polar law and getting my master's in polar law.
Thank you and welcome. For University of South Pacific, Ms. Lal.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kaya. I'm a third-year student with USP. I'm again super excited to be here today, and all the best to everyone.
Thank you very much. So that wraps up our introductions. Welcome everyone again. It's good to see you. My colleague will share his screen shortly for the allocation of positions. And once we find out which team starts, you will then have 5 minutes for your final preparation.
Yes, so I will share my screen. You will see the wheel normally in a few seconds. So, as you can see, there are 2 possibilities for each institution to be in favor, to be against. The team in favor will be starting the match. So activate the wheel. So this is the University of South Pacific will be against the motion, and as a consequence that will be the University of Akureyri will be in favor of the motion, will be starting the match. So it means concretely, just coming back quickly to the positions. Yes, so it means that the University of the South Pacific will be against, as I said. The University of Akureyri will be defending the position in favor, meaning adoption of the digital identification schemes and implementation of digital IDs is the next step of ensuring national security. While the University of the South Pacific will defend the position that adoption of the digital identification schemes and implementation of digital IDs is not the next step of ensuring national security. Now you will have 5 minutes for your preparation, and then we'll hear the introduction from the University of Akureyri. Voilà. So we are done. I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you very much. And this marks the end of your time for preparation. We'll now start in the position in favor, thus University of Akureyri. You have 4 minutes for your opening statements.
Thank you very much. Good morning and good evening. Today we are going to take the stance that adoption of digital identification schemes and implementation of digital IDs is the next logical step to ensure national security. I would like to start by quoting Arsaq Khan, who is a digital policy expert with a focus on internet development, cybersecurity, and expansion of internet access in the global south. The economic future, jobs, national security, cost of living, productivity, ability to compete globally, and geopolitical standing in the world are all reliant on continued and growing success in digital technology. Digital IDs are not simply a legal identification, but entailed in it is the digital public infrastructure, or DPI. It is still an evolving concept, but the United Nations has stated that DPI could accelerate the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, the scope of which national security is viewed in. Our argument is that through the citizens, environment, and economy. To support our point, we will be arguing firstly that IDs are important not only to people, but nations as well. Without IDs, people have been excluded from the benefits of society, which includes, but is not exclusive to, voting rights, pursuit of education, social services, and banking services. In a report titled "An Inclusive Digital Identity Platform in FIJ" from January 2021, it was stated that 29% of the population does not have access to their birth certificate. This makes it problematic for them to apply for other 5 legally recognized identifications, such as TIN or tax identification numbers and voting IDs, ID cards. The impact of having IDs not only benefits the individuals that are excluded from pursuit in academic and democratic processes, but it can spell out an overall increase in GDP of states. Research by the McKinsey Global Institute has stated that up to 3 to 13% growth can be expected in GDP by 2030 through digital identification schemes, which half of which is supposed to increase individuals, go to individuals. Our second point concerns the environment. Environmental goals with the exclusion, without having paper, there will be saving trees, fossil fuel, transportation, and water, as well as a power supply. This will further the goal of the Paris Agreement. Thirdly, that digital IDs ensure national security through economic means. I will go further into this in my rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear the opening statement in the against position, University of South Pacific. You have 4 minutes.
May I confirm that I'm audible, please?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Greetings to the honorable judges, colleagues, and audience members. The negative team disagrees that adopting and implementing digital identification schemes is the next step in ensuring national security. We instead contend that digital identification schemes give rise to major issues that undermine national security concerns. We advance the following arguments. I will argue that digital identification schemes, which I will refer to as DIS, give rise to privacy and data protection concerns, thereby breaching the rights of individuals and undermining national security. Vernish will consider the challenges of implementing such systems and why Pacific Island nations like Fiji may be at a disadvantage. Visha will explore exclusionary barriers. DIS utilizes technology to allow individuals to provide personal information. These may include a person's credentials, biometrics, and digital footprint. Through legal frameworks, such information can be collected by governments and private entities. While these identification systems arguably involve systems of integrity and accountability, there are challenges that raise national security concerns. One of the major risks is through data leakage. Data leaks are problematic and undermine national security as it can lead to the circulation of personal information onto the internet and dark web, threatening the safety of citizens. In 2018, India's digital Aadhaar system, the official national biometric and demographic database, faced a data leakage. Here, the personal data of approximately 850 million citizens were compromised and available on the dark web. This incident exposed the gaps in India's data protection laws in their Aadhaar Act. Similarly, the absence of such protection was discussed in Kenya's Nubian Rights Forum and Attorney General case. Here, the court analyzed the DIS proposed under the Registration of Persons Act and held that the system was unconstitutional. One reason for this was because Kenya did not have an operating Data Protection Act, meaning they lacked necessary safeguards for personal DNA and GPS data. Proper data protection laws are imperative as the proliferation of sensitive, intractable data could have extremely harmful and irreversible consequences for the victims. Secondly, the proposal of DIS also brings about major concerns to a person's privacy right, which is a fundamental human right. As such, impeding on privacy can undermine individual security and anonymity. In Jamaica, the National Identification and Registration Act of 2017 made it compulsory for each Jamaican resident to provide their biometric information for DIS. If individuals fail to comply, they would be criminalized. While the main purpose of the scheme was to provide easier access to governmental services, the system had major issues explored in the case of Robinson and Attorney General of Jamaica. Here, the court held that the entire act was unconstitutional as it was disproportionate and breached constitutional rights to privacy. Since the act criminalized disagreeing to provide personal data, rights to privacy and freedom were breached. This was problematic as individuals were denied autonomy in choosing to provide their information. Further, since protection laws were not rigid, personal information could be accessed by third parties, giving rise to potential surveillance, again impairing anonymity. To conclude, the discussed case laws. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have now heard the opening statements from both sides. We are now entering the rebuttals. For the first rebuttal, University of Akureyri, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Bad implementation does not mean bad schemes. Today, we willingly give social media information about ourselves that can be sensitive and has surely been breached. But perhaps the net benefit to the social media user is not the same as the net benefit of digital identification schemes. Of course, there are problems. These are problems that can be overcome, but we have to give leeway for working out the kinks and to assume the role of responsibility for the government to prevent bad actors in acting upon their urges in a way. But further to the third point, on our third point of the that digital IDs ensure national security through economic means. They save both time and resources. They are more easily accessible, and they can be used to counter tax avoidance and evasion, as stated in the Hidden Wealth Nations, the Scourge of Havens, Tax Havens by Gabriel Zuckman. And we believe that with proper implementation of digital identification schemes, the world can become more inclusive and further our goals in national security. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now hear the first rebuttal in the against position. University of South Pacific, you have 2 minutes.
Distinguished teams, judges, and audiences, I commend my colleagues in the opposing team for their views. However, we as the negative team firmly disagree with the stance that the adoption and implementation of digital ID schemes are the next step in ensuring national security. As the opposition pointed out the numerous benefits of having digital identification schemes, I would like to rebut their arguments based on the challenges of using digital IDs with respect to a developing nation's limited resources and technological capabilities. To begin with, before a digital ID scheme is implemented, there needs to be a proper body of laws, adequate technological infrastructure, and a regulatory authority to cater for a robust data governance, protection, and cybersecurity. These are essential as they provide guidelines on how digital IDs should be processed and the security measures that should be in place. A good example is Estonia and their Personal Data Protection Act and their Data Protection Inspectorate. However, the establishment of such systems can be very protracted and especially expensive for nations that do not have the technological infrastructure or the legislative framework to cater for such a system. Coming from a Pacific perspective, we acknowledge there are benefits to technological advancements. However, we are not blessed with the financial or advanced technological resources when compared with developed nations. As a result, the implementation of digital ID schemes may not be ideal for most nations, as it may result in disproportionately marginalizing developing nations with lesser resources, rendering the digital ID scheme inefficient. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now hear the second rebuttal in the favor position. University of Akureyri, you have 2 minutes.
Good morning and good evening. Thank you for allowing me to do the second rebuttal for this case. I want to touch a little bit more on our third point and then go into rebuttal. To kind of further our third point, the economic benefits that would overall benefit national security. According to, again, quoting my partner from earlier, according to the McKinsey Global Institute, 3 to 13% growth in GDP would be expected from now until 2030 if digital IDs were implemented. And this would be across the board in all nations, including developing nations. I also want to talk about the fact that women in developing countries are less likely to have IDs by about overall. So the main point of wanting to have digital ID systems is to lower the barrier to entry. Not only is this lowering the barrier to entry to get ID identification in the first place, but we're also lowering the barrier to entry for very important government services. And then to go into just a little bit of rebuttal, the opposing team does acknowledge if digital systems were implemented correctly, that there would be benefits to society, that these benefits would in fact occur. And I want to point out, actually here in Iceland, although not considered a developing nation, Iceland has about a population of 300,000 people. So it's a very small country with not a lot of resources and not a lot of systems in place due to just the size. I came from Alaska, where we don't have these digital systems and we don't have these implementations. And since becoming a resident of Iceland as a university student, I have had access to healthcare. I've had access to records of the here. And so overall, it's been easier to access and life has really benefited. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear the second rebuttal in the against position, University of South Pacific. You have 2 minutes.
Firstly, I would like to confirm that I'm audible and visual.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Okay, firstly, I would like to thank my counterpart colleagues for their argument. However, we respectfully beg to differ, because it is crucial to realize that implementation and adoption of such digital ID system can prevently and extremely violate the human rights. Let's just take for the case of Initiative of Social Economic Rights, which represents affected parties, versus the government of Uganda. In this case, they filed a case against the government of Uganda on the basis that they violated the right of privacy, social security, health, privacy, and non-derogatory claims. As such, this just goes to show because that the implementation that they were created, which was known as Uganda Montu, was a mandatory scheme to provide social schemes, to provide healthcare benefits and social services, by which 1/3 of the population did not have any digital identification as well, and those that did have were not efficient. This led to the exclusionary and discriminatory barrier because the citizens of Uganda were not able to access healthcare and social services. And for instance, for in particular cases like the senior citizen were not able to give in the grant, the vulnerable females were not given health benefits, the children were denied of their education, and even the right to vote was also denied just simply because they didn't have a national ID system. And despite all of these drawbacks in the system, the government of Uganda still prevailed that this system should be upheld. As such, this just goes to show that implementing such type of system has led to exclusionary barriers and violations of human rights laws, stating that international digital system has the capacity to decrease and undermine the national identity and national security. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have now heard the rebuttals from both teams, and we will proceed to the conclusions. University of Akureyri, you have 2 minutes.
A lot of really wonderful points have been made today, and I want to acknowledge that on both sides of the teams here. But I want to take everyone through a thought exercise, the best of both worlds. In the best of our world that we are proposing, digital IDs would be implemented without issue and without problems. And which has been done. Of course, everything's not without problems, but has been done in many nations already, where people are able to access social services. People have their identifications readily available and are able to operate throughout the world and their country specifically with these digital IDs. In the best of the world, in our world, we're benefiting the environment by going digital. We're allowing a 3 to 13% growth in GDP. We are also reducing barriers for people who otherwise would not be able to access IDs easily. This includes potentially homeless. This includes women who have significantly less access to getting their IDs in developing nations. This includes everyone in these different nations who would be able to have access to not only social services, but like their basic availability of identifying as a citizen. In the best of the world of the other team, these digital IDs would not be happening without absolute perfection, which is unrealistic. Our current system that we right now have isn't perfect with having IDs that aren't digital. People are having less access to their government services. People don't have their birth certificates or IDs, and people are just generally not able to have benefits from the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for the conclusion by the University of South Pacific, you have 2 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for your attention. As our team had negatively argued through a closer analysis of legislation and case laws with respect to adoption of digital identification schemes, we strongly contend that digital IDs are not the next step in ensuring national security for the following reasons. Firstly, the privacy risks associated with digital IDs in data leakages. Secondly, how the establishment of systems which cater for digital IDs can be protracted and resource-intensive for developing nations. And thirdly, the inadequacy of digital ID schemes in failing to cater for health and social security services. As our first speaker highlighted, data leakages pose a grave threat to national security, compromising citizens' personal and sensitive information, leading to severe and irreversible consequences. Examples are the Indian Aadhaar system leak that compromised 815 million citizens' medical history data and biometrics that was subsequently published on the dark web. Furthermore, cases such as Robinson versus Attorney General of Jamaica and Nubian Rights Forum versus the Attorney General of Kenya highlight how digital ID schemes can infringe upon a citizen's constitutional right to privacy. Additionally, the Ugandan case discussed by our third speaker underscores how such schemes can become exclusionary and discriminatory barriers in accessing healthcare and social service assistance. Therefore, it is our contention that digital ID schemes raise significant concerns regarding privacy, data management, resource availability, and social exclusion, and how these schemes cannot be deemed conducive to ensuring national security. That is our submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to both teams. And this now marks the end of your debate. You can relax. You are no longer graded after this point. So how did you find the debate? I think from the side of the organization, I can only say big congratulations to both teams. So perhaps starting with University of South Pacific, starting with your last speaker, Mr. Permal, how did you find the debate? How did you find the preparation?
It was definitely interesting, and especially for our teammates, because we had to research on a lot of overseas jurisdiction, their legislations, their case laws, and it was quite interesting learning experience. And listening to the opposing side's argument from Akureyri, it was very interesting. I enjoyed the debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing. From University of Akureyri, Ms. THIULDT, how did you find the debate? How did you find the research for the topic?
I found the debate very nice, and I mean, I loved the arguments from the Pacific because it was on the lines of what we had been going into, and I also found it very interesting to basically learn everything about this because it is a huge topic. It is very current, very much happening right now, and I learned so much, like with ARTHAS system, I think it's called, in India, and exactly with Estonia being the #1 nation with digital IDs and digital solutions, which I thought Iceland was, but yeah, it was very interesting and very fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Ms. Prakash from University of South Pacific, how did you find the debate? And perhaps, did the topic already ring a bell? Was it familiar to you, maybe from your studies or perhaps from discussions about policy implementation in the country?
Okay, in all honesty, the topic was like something new to me. It's like I had some basic generalized idea, but upon researching, and then sometimes when I have to find some, I want good brainstorm idea and I find it the case and I can't find it. I'm like, oh damn, I wish I had learned more about this. I wished like it was a very tough journey for me in this sense because like this was kind of a new topic for me and researching from some aspect that I wanted to find was quite tough, but nonetheless it was very, what do you say, enjoyable, if I can say, because I got to learn more from this topic, and the researching skills was quite something I've learned as well. So yeah, it was overall tolling, but very, very informative. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing, really. Ms. Ashlock from University of Akureyri, how did you find the debate? And as well, you mentioned personal experience during one of the arguments. Did you perhaps have familiar experience with the topic in some capacity, studies
So
or?
sorry. My only experience really is now living in Iceland and having it's called a karatala, which I might be mispronouncing. Sorry, Hildur. But it's effectively like a Icelandic social security number, and you use your karatala in just even day-to-day life. Like it's not like you're not in the US, like your social security number is like you don't tell anyone what it is, but like your karatala is used for everything here. Including like even if like in order to rent a car for like a long time, you have to use your karatala. And so like that's mostly my experience, which it's very new to me because Alaska, we just don't do anything digital. Everything's paper, pen. We just don't really trust the internet a little bit. But like Hildur actually has a little bit more experience in the topic from an academic perspective. Her undergraduate thesis was on misinformation specific to the internet. And so she's a little bit more like kind of read in on like technical issues and like kind of cybersecurity and like that, like more of that realm. I'm a little bit not experienced. So this was interesting to learn from.
Thank you for sharing. Ms. Lal from University of South Pacific, how did you find the debate?
First of all, everyone did an amazing job. It was awesome just listening to everyone's perspectives, and I truly learned a lot. The topic was very interesting. I think just to sort of carry on from what Hildur was talking about, this is a very, developing area of law, and it's something that I've, wanted to learn about, but, we've never really find the time. So just getting to know the sort of topic and through this debate, because you have to consider both sides. Yeah, it was spectacular, definitely difficult, I think, as Vicious mentioned, but like it was interesting nevertheless. Also just thank you to the foundation. I think all three debates had quite interesting topics that expanded all of like our horizons, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's really good to hear. And well, we usually have a little bit of networking at the end. Being that this is the third round, we'll pretend for a little bit that the University of Akureyri also already had their first round debate. So this is kind of a question we have at the end of the group phase for the teams. And that would be, after the debate so far, how did you find the experience? And is there perhaps one thing that you could share with us is the most important thing that either was improved for you or that you have learned completely by participation? Perhaps starting with the University of South Pacific, whichever one of you wants to take the floor.
I think I'll go just to carry on. I've never debated before, so I think the whole experience was very interesting and a learning experience for me. Definitely one skill that I've honed in on is the researching, and specifically looking at international laws. Coming in from our university, we're primarily focusing on the Pacific jurisdiction and just how things are handled around in here. So with this debate, I've definitely gained a lot of exposure and just learning about the different sort of scopes and areas of law that I could potentially delve into post graduation. So thank you again so much.
If anyone else from your team would also like to share experience.
From my perspective, This debate has taught like a lot of aspects regarding understanding from different point of perspective, since we have to research from 2 points. And then the research skill, I must say my research skill is like it's improving, and this debate has like taught me more relating to issues, especially since they're usually controversial issues, so we get to like get more spectrum towards it. And previously I have done debate, I must say, but usually that's from the tertiary level I've done. This is like my first from this international platform. And yeah, and I'm really, I'll be honest with you, really excited to participate in such a platform where I really get to learn most about it and interact with people. And I'm usually the type that I'm more introverted, so this type of platform really gives me a lot of exposures and a lot of knowledge that I could say. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I would probably commend my teammates. They probably really explained and stated all the benefits of the competition. However, another thing I really found very interesting was socializing with my colleagues from abroad, from different areas, learning from their different perspectives. It's very interesting, actually. And once again, I commend the organization for involving a university like ours from the South Pacific to participate. It's a very interesting learning experience that we'll cherish for the rest of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you also to your university for participating, for a repeat participation, actually. This is the case for both of the teams. It's always a pleasure to welcome students and give the platform for you to connect, maybe outside of a typical exchange programs. For University of Akureyri team, I also have the same question. Given the debates that you've had to this point, how did you find the experience? And is there perhaps thing or skill or experience that comes to mind that you will take out of this competition for further use or memory?
Thank you. I'll speak first. I previously debated, it was 4 years ago in like high school. And most of our debates that we did were more extemporaneous. So I'd be given a topic and then I would have 20 minutes to prepare with no internet access, and then I would debate. We specifically did like British Parliament system and worlds, which were the 2 debate types I did. So the previous researching process was very interesting to me, and I was not really used to it. So that was kind of a learning curve for me. And then I know Hildur won't like toot her own horn here. So she is not a native English speaker, and this is only her 2nd debate that she's ever done. So I'm so proud of her. The amount of improvement that she has made since the beginning of this is astronomical. And I'm so proud of my teammate.
Thank you for sharing. So that's quite lovely. Ms. Hildur?
Yeah, thank you, Emma. But yeah, 2nd debate ever that, is in official capacity. And this platform, I meant it as a way to improve my public speaking skills, which I think are coming along nicely, considering it's been like a week and a half since the last time. But yeah, great experience, fantastic people we've debated, fantastic people I've met through the program foundation, and just couldn't be happier with everything, really. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's as a part of the organizing team, it's a pleasure to hear, I think, both for me and for my colleague. We will have to wrap up here because we have another match coming up, but I just want to highlight that in April, and you will receive, of course, this information by email as well, we have mid-edition ceremony. So it will be also a place where the teams will find out the matchups for the 8th finals. And there will be also a networking opportunity. So every team that you have met so far will be possibly there as well as teams from other groups. So definitely do see if you can join, and it's been a pleasure, and it's been an honor also to see you grow for the debates. Wishing you all the best.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you very much.